Imagine walking into a store with a bag of clothes, handing everything over for free, and then returning a week later to buy somebody else's old jacket for $15. You supplied the inventory, you delivered it to the store, you accepted no payment. And you may have thanked the employee for taking it. In almost every other retail business, this would sound impossible. A supermarket pays suppliers. A furniture store pays manufacturers. A clothing chain pays factories, designers, and distributors before a single item reaches the sales floor. But a donation-based thrift store can receive a truckload of products without paying the donor anything at all. That sounds like the perfect business. It is not. Because the real challenge is not receiving used goods. The real challenge is finding the tiny fraction of value hidden inside an unpredictable mountain of other people's belongings. A donated designer coat might be worth hundreds of dollars. A bag beside it may contain stained shirts, broken toys, an obsolete printer, and one shoe with no matching partner. Every donation must be unloaded, moved, opened, inspected, sorted, cleaned when appropriate, priced, tagged, displayed, and eventually sold, transferred, recycled, or discarded. So thrift stores are not simply shops that sell cheap clothes. They are sorting machines. They are logistics networks. They are treasure hunt businesses. And the most successful ones have built an entire economic system around inventory that arrives without a normal purchase order. By the end of this video, you will understand why the most valuable part of a thrift store may not be the clothing on the rack. It is the machine operating behind the donation door. A customer pulls up with 4 boxes from a garage cleanout. An employee accepts the boxes, gives the donor a receipt if requested, and moves everything into a processing area. At that moment, the store does not know whether it received $5 of value or $500. The boxes might contain ordinary t-shirts, kitchen plates, books, electronics, shoes, collectibles, or luxury items. There is no standard supplier catalog. There is no guaranteed quantity. There is no ability to reorder the same product next Tuesday. The inventory is free-form chaos. The store's first job is to turn that chaos into categories. Workers separate clothing from housewares, books from electronics, and sellable items from obvious waste. Clothing may be checked for damage, brand, condition, and local demand. Electronics may require testing. Furniture consumes valuable floor space. Fragile goods are expensive to handle. Some items may be unsafe or unsuitable for resale. The difference between profit and loss can depend on how quickly workers make thousands of small decisions. Keep this. Reject that. Price this at $6. Send that to the premium rack. Move this item online. Discount that next week. A normal retailer knows what it bought and roughly what it expects to sell it for. A thrift store often discovers the product, its condition, and its possible customer only after the product has already entered the building. That is why the phrase free inventory can be misleading. The store may pay nothing to the donor, but it still pays for labor, rent, trucks, insurance, utilities, technology, processing space, security, and disposal. Savers Value Village, the largest for-profit thrift operator in the United States and Canada by store count, reported nearly $1.68 billion in fiscal 2025 net sales. But it also reported approximately $751 million in merchandise costs, $349 million in salaries and benefits, $374 million in selling and administrative expenses, and $80 million in depreciation and amortization. Operating income was about $124 million. SEC, the products may begin cheaply. Converting them into revenue is an industrial operation. And not every thrift chain receives merchandise under the same model. Goodwill is a network of locally led nonprofit organizations. Its organizations sell donated products to help fund employment training, education, and community services. Goodwill. Savers Value Village is a for-profit company. It purchases donated goods from nonprofit partners at contractual rates. The company states that purchases inside its stores do not directly benefit those nonprofit partners, although it pays the partners for the donated supply it acquires. SEC, that distinction matters. The phrase thrift store can describe a nonprofit mission organization, a church shop, a local charity store, a consignment business, or a publicly traded for-profit retailer. They may look similar from the sidewalk. The money can flow very differently behind the wall. Now follow one donated jacket. Suppose the jacket is clean, fashionable, and in good condition. A worker places it on a rack for $20. The store has almost no traditional product development cost. No designer was hired. No factory order was placed. No seasonal shipment crossed an ocean specifically for that jacket. But the store still has a problem. There is only one. That creates scarcity, but it also creates inconsistency. A customer who likes the jacket must buy it now because the same size and style may never appear again. This is one reason thrift shopping feels less like ordinary retail and more like hunting. The customer does not simply ask, "Do I need a jacket?" The customer asks, "What if somebody else finds this first?" That uncertainty changes behavior. People browse racks they did not plan to visit. They return frequently because the inventory changes constantly. They inspect shelves because valuable products may be mixed beside ordinary ones. A single surprising discovery can make the entire trip feel worthwhile. Savers describes its stores as a treasure hunt shopping environment. During fiscal 2025, its average unit retail price was approximately $5. It also reported 6.1 million active loyalty members, who generated nearly 73% of its retail sales. SEC. The low price attracts the customer. The changing inventory creates urgency. And the loyalty program turns occasional treasure hunting into a measurable habit. But what happens when the jacket does not sell? This is where the system becomes more interesting. Traditional retailers hate unsold inventory because they paid for it and may have thousands of identical units. They mark products down, send them to discount channels, or write down their value. Thrift stores also use discounts, but their acquisition economics can give them more flexibility. Some local Goodwill organizations rotate colored tags and discount products based on how long they have been on the floor. If an item still does not sell, it may move to an outlet where goods are offered at much lower prices, often by weight, instead of by individual tag. Goodwill. Goodwill says products that do not sell initially can move through outlet stores. Items that remain unsold may then be sorted for recycling, reuse markets, downcycling, or export. Goodwill, that means one donated item can receive several chances to create value. First, the normal retail rack. Then perhaps an online marketplace or specialty boutique for unusual or premium goods. Then a markdown. Then an outlet bin. Then a wholesale or recycling channel. The objective is not to earn the maximum price from every item. The objective is to extract enough value from the total flow of goods before handling and disposal costs consume the margin. Think of the system as a waterfall. The most valuable and desirable items remain near the top. Lower value items fall into cheaper channels. Materials with little retail demand may still possess value by weight. Only at the bottom does the system confront true waste. And the scale is enormous. Goodwill says its network includes 150 local organizations and more than 3,400 retail and outlet stores across the United States and Canada. In 2025, it reported helping nearly 1.9 million people access skills and career resources while keeping 4.6 billion pounds of products in circulation. Goodwill. Goodwill leadership describes the network as generating approximately $8.2 billion in combined revenue, although that represents the broader network and should not be confused with pure retail profit. Goodwill. At Savers Value Village, 367 stores processed approximately 1.1 billion pounds of secondhand goods during fiscal 2025. SEC, this is not a small shopkeeper examining one box in a back room. It is a supply chain measured in billions of pounds. The environmental side matters because Americans discard an enormous quantity of textiles. The Environmental Protection Agency estimated that the United States generated 17 million tons of textiles in municipal solid waste during 2018, representing 5.8% of total municipal solid waste generation that year. US EPA. Thrift stores can extend the useful life of some of those products, but the environmental story is not automatically perfect. A donation is not the same as recycling. An unsellable shirt still requires sorting and transportation. Downcycling may produce lower value material rather than a new garment. Exported used clothing may travel thousands of miles before finding another buyer. And some items eventually become waste, no matter how many channels they pass through. The system reduces waste only when reuse or material recovery actually prevents or delays disposal. Now we reach the hidden advantage that may be even more important than cheap inventory. Thrift stores receive local information for free. Every donation reveals something about the surrounding community. A location near wealthy households may receive premium clothing and furniture. A college town may produce frequent move-out donations. A family suburb may supply children's clothing, toys, and home goods. A thrift operator does not need to predict every trend months in advance because much of its assortment is created by the community itself. Supply arrives locally. Demand also arrives locally. The store becomes an exchange point between two groups that rarely meet: people who want possessions removed quickly and people who want useful goods at a low price. The donor values convenience, additional space, and the feeling of helping. The shopper values affordability, uniqueness, and discovery. The thrift operator stands between them and organizes the exchange. That organization is the real product. This also explains why donation locations are strategically important. A convenient drive-through donation center is not merely a charitable service. It is a supply acquisition system. The easier it is to donate, the more goods enter the pipeline. Savers reported that on-site donations and its Green Drop network represented 78% of the pounds it processed during fiscal 2025. It also said those channels generally supplied higher quality goods at lower contractual costs than some alternative sources, improving sales yield and product margin. In ordinary retail, location attracts shoppers. In thrift retail, location may need to attract both shoppers and suppliers. The same building can function as a storefront in the front and an inventory intake machine in the back. That is a powerful model, but it has weaknesses. First, supply quality is unpredictable. A flood of low-quality donations can increase labor and disposal expenses without creating enough revenue. More inventory is not always better inventory. Second, pricing is difficult. Price too low, and valuable goods leave money on the table. Price too high, and customers begin comparing used products with brand new discount merchandise. The thrill of discovery can turn into frustration when shoppers believe the bargains have disappeared. Third, labor is essential. Technology can help track inventory or route goods, but people still make enormous numbers of judgment calls about condition, category, safety, and value. A mistake made in 5 seconds can place a valuable collectible in the wrong bin, or place an ordinary product behind glass with a ridiculous price. Fourth, the business depends on trust. Donors may believe they are supporting a particular mission. Shoppers may assume every thrift store is operated as a charity. That is why the distinction between nonprofit and for-profit operators must be communicated clearly. Fifth, online resale has changed customer expectations. A worker who recognizes a rare sneaker, vintage shirt, or collectible can place it online and reach a much larger market. That can increase revenue, but it may also remove some of the spectacular finds that made customers excited to visit physical stores. The better the company becomes at identifying value, the less likely a shopper is to discover a $100 product priced at $5. Efficiency can weaken the treasure hunt that created customer loyalty in the first place. And there is another tension. The donor wants the process to feel charitable. The shopper wants the products to remain affordable. The organization needs enough revenue to pay employees, occupy buildings, operate trucks, process donations, and fund its wider purpose. Push prices too high, and the store can appear greedy. Keep prices too low, and the system may fail to cover its costs. Every thrift operator must balance mission, affordability, and economics. So what are thrift stores really selling? They sell low-priced goods, but that is only the visible transaction. To donors, they sell convenience, decluttering, and a sense of purpose. To shoppers, they sell affordability, surprise, and the possibility of finding something nobody else noticed. To nonprofit organizations, donated goods retail can help fund workforce and community programs. To for-profit operators, nonprofit partnerships can create a recurring, locally sourced merchandise stream purchased through long-term relationships. And behind all of it sits the real machine: collection, sorting, pricing, channel selection, inventory turnover, and the recovery of value from goods that their original owners no longer wanted. The donated jacket is not valuable simply because it was free. It becomes valuable because a system identifies it, moves it toward the right customer, and sells it before the cost of handling it becomes greater than the price. That is the final business lesson. Thrift stores do not create products. They create order from disorder. They take millions of unpredictable objects, separate treasure from trash, and give each product another chance to find a buyer. The donor sees an empty closet. The shopper sees a bargain. The thrift store sees a stream of inventory. And the organizations that manage that stream best can turn yesterday's unwanted possessions into today's revenue. The goods may be secondhand. The business machine is not.